Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing this Ford Mustang Dark Horse. This was traded in after only 1,000 miles. I want to talk about that in today's video because I think that the new Mustang is actually really struggling. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover here in Lehigh for giving me some time with this Mustang. If you happen to be interested in a Dark Horse, they've got a great deal on this one. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Jordan. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 that goes through a 6-speed manual. It puts out a whopping 500 horsepower and then 418 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So the Dark Horse, I think, is probably one of the coolest looking Mustangs of all time. You've got this decal here on the hood, which contrasts better with some of the other paint colors. This one's black, so it's kind of all monotone. But really cool headlight design with this. The grill's all blacked out. And so overall, it just has a really cool appearance. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 285 by 30 by 20 in the front, and then 305 by 30 by 20 in the rear. And these are not stock wheels, these are Vossens. Very expensive wheels. This is why you look at trade-ins at Land Rover dealerships, by the way, because they get some really crazy cars like this. These wheels are worth, like all four of these wheels combined are worth more than some cars. Anyways, got Brembo brakes. You can see with the Dark Horse logo there on the side. Notice with the satin on the mirror cap. And I like these wheels. They actually have like a flush offset with the wheel wells, and so it gives the Mustang a really good look. The Dark Horse also comes with this really cool spoiler here in the back, and then you got the sequential lights with the Dark Horse logo. Look at that. That's fun. And then all of the exhaust tips are at the bottom, all four of them to be exact. But yeah, like I said, when it comes to looks, this is one of the best looking Mustangs of all time. But things start to get a little shaky once you pop inside. So Ford has somewhat updated certain parts of the interior, but the Mustang still kind of has like a somewhat cheap feeling interior, just like it always has. That's kind of what muscle cars are about. It's not about the interior, it's about the engine. But they have done some cool stuff like Dark Horse right there, and then you got these Recaro seats. They are manually adjustable. See with the pedals, pretty cool setup. And then if I actually pop in, it's not too hard to get in. You got this trim here. Again, doesn't necessarily feel super high quality, but looks pretty cool. And then the door, pretty solid. Now we got this full digital gauge cluster, and I actually think this is one of the things that detracts somewhat from the new Mustang. So it's cool how you can change the gauge cluster. You can make it look like retro if you want, for example, with the themes, which let's actually pop that on. So press the Mustang logo. It'll take a second to load up, so bear with me on that. And also, let's turn down the fan speed on this, I suppose, in a second. Man, that is taking forever to load up. 20 years later. Anyways, we'll go to the next thing. So you can see the controls on the steering wheel. Got adaptive cruise control and all of that. And then more of that trim. And I like this part of the steering wheel. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so here we go. Cluster theme. So you've got the match drive mode and all that kind of stuff. And then you can do like Fox body. So that's pretty cool looking. And then notice there's a okay, yes, we understand. The classic cluster as well. So this is one cool thing about the digital, but it's still a giant screen here on the dash, and it kind of looks funky, I suppose. You do have some physical buttons down below, wireless phone charging pad. I will say one thing that's really cool in this new Dark Horse is the shifter. I think the shifter looks really cool with the blue coloration, and I wish they did this ball shifter in more of the Mustangs because it's just a way to go in a muscle car. But yeah, you'll notice that this interior isn't all that different from the previous generation other than this giant screen basically plopped onto the dash. Now, when it comes to pricing, this Dark Horse pre-owned is just over $60,000. And so with that being said, let's take it out and drive it. Well, Mustang Dark Horse. The brake there is so interesting. It's an electronic brake, but it kind of looks like an old school one. What I will say is super annoying is how long it takes for things to load up. Because I've started up the car a few times, it loads up right away. But when I was doing that exhaust clip, you guys probably noticed there's a cut in the clip. And the reason why there is a cut in the clip is it took so long for the screen to load up that I couldn't do my normal just continuous clip. So yes, I am going to complain about it because it's annoying. It is really, really annoying. But in other news, let's talk about this car. So first off, man, I need to stop hitting the gym apparently because I do not fit in these seats anymore. Like, I feel like I'm getting, it's not horrible, but I feel like I'm getting squeezed a little bit with these seats. It's, like I said, it's not the worst thing, but definitely not preferable. Now, I will say the clutch actuation is pretty good on this. And smooth power. I love this retro gauge cluster. I think I like this more than the other one. Fox body. These are the two that I like the most. Let's go back to Fox body. Classic's cooler. Classic wins. Classic wins. They should have just, in my personal opinion, just had this as the gauge cluster. I know some people won't agree with me on that, but I think that would be the way to go. But yeah, having everything digital, kind of, I don't know, it's kind of annoying if you ask me. I mean, at least the drive mode select is on the steering wheel, so it's got that going for it. So in terms of the Dark Horse, this drives a lot better than the new, you know, GT, right? They have kind of firmed some stuff up on this car, so it helps out quite a bit, but it's still not as good as the previous generation Mustang. And what I mean by that is this is a little bit more refined. Let's pop it into, let's do sport. It's a little bit more refined. It's got some cool stuff like that digital animation, but the steering is so numb. It is ridiculously numb steering. And so you can't, like with this car, you can't really drive sporty with the steering. And what I mean by that is you feel everything through the suspension in this car, not through the steering. And it's kind of scary because then you don't really know when you're at the limit with this car until the body hits the limit, right? You can't feel things kind of chattering through the steering wheel. And again, that was not the case with the previous generation Mustang. I've owned two GT500s, two GT350s, and I can tell you, those cars, you can feel everything. And this, it's very synthetic. The steering rack's quick to respond. It's just very synthetic feeling. I don't know, it's kind of disappointing for a Mustang. And I think that's why this new generation Mustang is not doing all that well. Like, the ones that dealerships are getting aren't really selling. And now you see, you know, the Dark Horse, this was the hot new guy on the block, right? And now, I mean, this thing only has 1,000 miles on it, got traded in. Now, I will say, Utah does kind of have this thing where people buy new cars like every other month. It is a thing in Utah because there's a lot of money here. And, you know, there's, unlike, you know, New York or Los Angeles or some of the other big cities, housing, although expensive in Utah, is not as expensive in those areas. So when you have someone that's uber rich here, they go, well, since I don't have a $30 million house to buy, I guess I gotta buy $30 million worth of Mustangs over the next 10 years. I'm being sarcastic, but also not. So that could have been the thing, right? The person just, you know, bought it to get it out of their system. But I also think that they probably bought it and then realized that it's not all that exciting to drive. I mean, this is cool. Like, the sound is great. Like, that's great, muscle car feel. But outside of the sound and the fact that it's a naturally aspirated V8, the rest of the car is kind of boring. And that's sad to say because the previous generation Mustang was such a blast to drive. It was such a fun car to drive, especially the 350. The 350, I think, will still go down as the greatest Mustang ever made, period. End of story. So, yeah. I don't know, I really wanted to like this new generation because it looks cool. And, you know, it's great that Ford's still offering this. I just don't know why or how they messed this up so bad, because it's not like the steering's like, you know, slightly mediocre. It's horrible. The rest of the car's great though. Like I said, the rest of the car's great. It's just the steering is so bad, and that's a big part of a sports car, is having responsive steering that gives you responsive feedback as well, right? The whole picture. So let me know what you guys think about the new Mustang. Let me know what you think about the new Dark Horse. But, well, let's just say that I'll review the new Mustang as the years progress. I'll review the new GT500, all of that. I have no plans of buying one. I think that I think I personally got to experience peak Mustang with the previous generation GT500 and GT350, and I think it's kind of downhill from here. But let me know if you agree.